Hello everyone, Cosball11 here. Welcome back to Phoenix Wright with Ace Attorney Trilogy. We're on the final day of Rise from the Ashes. There are two parts to this shit, the former and the latter. And fingers crossed. Hopefully I fucking finish today. Ugh. So let's jump in. February 25th, 9:47 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby, number 2. This is the defendant lobby, alright? But there's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It almost seems as if something's been happening behind this. Who is that? Oh. Edgeworth. Edgeworth. Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 77 is it? That number ID number is. That is. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True. Not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, Wright, and Chief Prosecutor Skye will be found guilty. But she didn't do it. I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here, to hear what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth. Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, right? This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally, this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief Gant. Hello, you asshole. Morning, folks. How's everyone doing? Hey, Ajay. Been back to the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. Oh, that's a good one. Don't think I can top that. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, what exactly is this proposal of yours? Yeah? Uh-huh. Lana, that is to say the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what?
Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble.
What's this all about, defendant? I'd just like to make one simple request and I'll be finished.
Well then, what's your request?
Your Honor, I'd like you to put immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. No, Lana! God fucking damn it, woman! You can't. Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana, Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please.
Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. Her request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise.
This can't be happening.
It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant...
One moment, Your Honor.
Mr. Edgeworth!
The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature.
Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you. But why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut,
I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gant.
What?
Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes.
Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy.
I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness.
Oh, to whom?
As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye. I request the court hears her testimony. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. You got a point there.
Very well. The court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant?
Worthy. You'll live to regret this, mark my words. Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is Emma Skye. My occupation, I'm Lana's little sister and I want to be a scientific investigator. 2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark killings. Is this correct? Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though. I'm sorry. But I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time.
Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant?
Yes. It most certainly is.
Well, okay then.
You sure gave in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago. The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me. But I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest.
It's a good thing you weren't harmed.
I passed out. I don't remember much.
That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder?
That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You've got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence.
Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination.
Two years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct? Yes. She was second in command under then Deputy Chief of Police Gant. My sister, she was the best detective ever.
Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Miss Skye used to be quite the pair.
I believe they shared the same office. That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play that day, too. The police department and the prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day. Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work. A man. Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer. Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest.
When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right?
Upon fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Skye and Gant's office. There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened the door to have a look. That's when I saw him. What was the prosecutor doing there? That day, there were two people present during Dark's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Almost forgot about Gant. Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to the questioning room after the ceremony.
I assume that would also be why he was the first to run after Dark.
When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead. And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in? I don't clearly remember what happened then, but... Can you tell us about that? Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. Just then, the lights went out.
The light... the lights...
It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck nearby. So the electricity went out.
Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right?
Right, but just then, lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image on the scene in my mind.
I see.
I told the detective about what I saw then. The detective? Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case. Detective Bruce Goodman. The victim. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago? Yes, That's what's so scary about this trial. And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw. Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. A picture? Yes, I think she mentioned that before.
Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough?
This picture the witness drew. I believe it has a very important meaning. But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture.
Witness, would you mind if we added the statement to your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor. I would just save here because I have a feeling I know what I'm supposed to, present here, like the other half of the fucking list. So that's what I'm gonna do. What's on this? Fucking... Yo, what the fuck? The picture is drawn on the back of the evidence list in magic marker. I've got a very bad feeling about this. Mr. Edgeworth, this little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence. Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture. That may well be. Well, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold.
This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident.
Please turn it over, Your Honor.
Turn it over, turn it... Oh, what's this?
Yes, what is that? Hey, that's it. That's the picture I drew.
Indeed, two men appear to be wrestling here.
Hi, Katana. We found a picture that Emma drew. It's honestly better than anything I can draw, but it's still, it's fine though. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list? Me? Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. Huh?
These lists, they're different from each other.
What?
It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks where they were torn apart from each other.
So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in that case ever reached you. What?
Order! Order! But, Miss Sky, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list?
Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor.
Are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head.
If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list.
Yes, that's quite conceivable, Mr. Edgeworth.
It's possible. Let's see.
Is something wrong?
Do you even have to ask? Sorry, Your Honor. There is indeed something drawn on the back of my list. It's that thing. Oh my dear lord.
That's that thing. That thing that was dancing in the evidence room.
Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives. I guess he was out of scrap paper. Evidence lists restored and updated in the court record. Okay, hold on. I want to see this complete fucking picture. Shit. Now what in Sam hell? Hold on. Emma, girl. How in the absolute fuck? You know what? We'll get to that.
Very well, witness. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago?
Huh? Oh, yes, sir, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. After that, I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant.
To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind.
Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw.
Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Well, actually, no, Judge, my boy. That it just shows figure A about to stab figure B with what looks to be a ruler. But that's my interpretation of her art. But in her defense, she was 14. And I know I still can't draw and I'm 22. I know the detail, Katana. I get the detail. Did you draw this picture right after the incident? I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything. During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Gant and Lana Skye. 2 or 3 days later, the memory should still have been fresh in her mind.
Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black?
Okay. So at the time you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue? No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright, and I was knocked to the floor. You were knocked to the floor? Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed. Poor Emma. I'm just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed? You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place? No, I'm sorry. The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further? What? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here. Anyway, this picture... Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Of course, this is the exact scene. It wasn't influenced in any way from your talks with the detectives. Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright? No, of course not. I'd better watch out or he might find somewhere to cut my salary. Do we even get paid, right? Because I'm not sure we're even getting paid. I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives. So I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me.
Mr. Wright, is there something that's bothering you about this picture?
Huh? Oh, well... That's strange. She claims this is exactly... $1 a case. No, he gets $1 for each day it happens. So he gets like, at most, $3 per case. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind. And yet, there's clearly a contradiction here. Well, when in doubt, save where you are. And then go balls to the walls and present evidence. Wait. No more blah blah blah. Single stab wound piercing heart and lung. Died from blood loss in under 2 minutes. One found was missing tip. I guess from that angle he could be stabbed in the back. Do I present the evidence list? Or do I present the autopsy report? I think I'm gonna do the evidence list first, and hope for the best. Yeah, it does say contradicts as evidence. It does? Okay. So, exactly what I saw, and then it... What the fuck is... After that, I must have fainted. The flashlight was so bright, I only see shadow. Blah, 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 blah. So, this has to be the statement I gotta object, obviously, but what fucking... You know what? What do I have evidence-wise relating to SL9? Switchblade. Rubber glove. Unstable jar. I guess the autopsy report, but I'm not confident in this decision. Huh. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it just like it was yesterday.
Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us.
Would it be that? The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. Oh, right, it's just a straight rectangle. How the fuck? Yeah. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken.
Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright.
But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too.
If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
It was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma. And where, pray tell, could you possibly see a problem? It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once... Oh... Yeah. Using a ruler for staples. If the victim was only stabbed once... then the murder weapon should not yet be broken.
Oh, what's the meaning of this?
Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there.
That's right.
But, I was reading. Edgy. The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken. That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly. But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency. Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already? About a little something called falsified evidence. You're treading on thin ice, Wright. All I'm saying is that this broken knife tip might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility. No. You know, Edgeworth, Lana literally fucking yesterday did admit to forging a piece of evidence. It's not your fault, Edgy. You didn't make her do it. You were just working with what they handed you.
Order. Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted?
Your Honor, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story, there is a lie. I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife. If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife.
What are the chances of there being two broken knives?
Well, the trophy, King of Prosecutor thing, it had a knife. Yeah, it had a broken knife tip. Could be that. Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Could there have been one? Yeah. If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw... Yeah, the sword tip! Yeah, that's what I was pointing out. Thank you, Katana. Yeah, the sword tip broken. It can't just be explained away by simple observational error. Mr. Wright. In that instant, Emma really did see. No, it's a sword and shield, but it's like a short sword. It's based on a Chinese myth. Yeah, it's a sword. Yeah, it's a sword. You're correct, Katana. It is definitely a sword. But, yeah. In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife.
I assume, then, that you have some information about this other broken knife. If so, please feel free to enlighten us.
The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. The answer lies in the past. 2 years in the past. Right here inside this picture. This is a picture. This is a picture of the award ceremony.
What is it, Mr. Edgeworth?
It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding. That's a broken knife. Well, to be accurate, it's technically a short sword. As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award.
Order, order, order.
Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. But that can't be. Oh, and why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors Award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean? I mean, this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh. You know, that is kind of awkward.
But the prosecutor was the one who actually died.
That's true. What's going on here? It seems Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Wait, I remember now. I remember everything.
Witness.
Mr. Edgeworth. What is it? Could you show me your evidence list again, please?
His list. The one with that picture scribbled on the back.
I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it. What? You drew that? That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me.
Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness testimony.
Out of rapid curiosity. Oh dear. Okay, I think I'm right.
Would you please tell us what you've recalled, Miss Guy?
Yes, Your Honor. First the knife mix-up, and now the blue badger? This should be interesting. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
This is certainly most unusual.
Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago.
Very well. The defense may now be...
Stop. Please, don't pursue this any further. Lana, listen. Bitch. I'm working here. Lana.
What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair.
But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Sky. We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back.
Silence. The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant.
It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. When I saw the man raising a knife, blah blah, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. Okay. Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. She seems convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that Dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've got to help that other person. What do you mean, you think? It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur. Miss Sky was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural. I saw the man about to stab the other person who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife.
What you did was very brave, young girl. So then what happened next?
Are you sure about this? Of course. See, I even drew a picture of him here. But it was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The Blue Badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable. I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember. Oh, brother. Just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion.
Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing?
This is the point where I save, because I'm gonna press on it, but then I'm pretty sure this statement I gotta do the thing. And present evidence. His shadow. So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns. This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken. That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation. If so, by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when the lightning flashed? Who is this Blue Badger, really? I'm pretty sure it's the vase. The Blue Badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture. Yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the Blue Badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright.
In this room. Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show it this mysterious look-alike Blue Badger.
That. The mysterious Blue Badger was, in fact, this.
But that's, what exactly is that?
I believe it's some sort of jar. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the Blue Badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint?
Our viewpoint?
Come on. Come on. Come on. Fucking rotating with one goddamn. Allow me to remind the defense. Okay. Look, I'm fucking trying, Edgeworth. Okay, I thought I had it. Maybe like this? Well, is this a miracle or what? No one can possibly deny the star's resemblance to the blue badger. No, it can't be.
Order! Order! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this.
Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed. Very well then, please tell us. What difference now that we know the witness saw this jar? I'm thinking the murder weapon or the murderer, but I'm not 100% certain. Well, there is blood on the jar. So I'm thinking murder weapon. It's worth a shot. Location? I mean, maybe? It's worth a shot. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Oh, at a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar?
Where?
The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room at Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. You are indeed a genius, Katana. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason.
Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright?
I finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, What could have sent the jar flying?
That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit?
The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword.
Well, actually, it's more like a spear. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have to have been Neil Marshall wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy. No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. Yes. There was another possibility of what actually transpired in that room.
Another possibility.
Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless. I don't know if I can go through with this.
Mr. Wright, what's the matter?
If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Skye knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? Huh. That's a big old oof. There she goes. I never imagined her testimony would lead to this.
So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented.
What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Skye, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't. Actually, Lana... I do?
Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence.
If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Touché, Miss Skye. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility?
What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth?
I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. In one manner or another. That's impossible.
Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist?
I've got to think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind it's in the evidence. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? I mean, would she technically be a murderer, though, if it was an accident? not be mistaken, Miss Guy. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek. The truth. No matter how painful it may be.
Now then, Mr. Wright.
She was also a minor. She was like 14 at the time. And she thought she thought all she was doing was pushing away somebody who was trying to murder somebody. It just so happened to be Neil Marshall, and he just so happened to hit the fucking suit of armor. You can't really plan that, especially since it was pitch black. So really, realistically speaking, she would have just gotten off with like a slap on the wrist at most. Maybe some therapy, most definitely. I don't think she would actually have been charged with anything too serious.
Please show us this the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased.
The message left by this deceased.
This is that blue badger from before, right?
Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here, on the surface of this jar.
What do you mean?
If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice, for some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away.
Yes, there is a line here drawn in blood.
So what you're saying is these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points. And the victim's message will become apparent. No.
Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us?
Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. I've got to connect these dots to make letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. His murderer's name. Okay. It's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind.
Of all people. She may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life
was Emma Skye.
See, Worthy. Can't say I didn't warn you.
Hi, Gant. Chief Gant.
Do you understand the implications of what you've done?
What? What are you talking about?
2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction.
But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. Well, I mean, it's pretty clear he's the bad guy in this case. I mean, hell, I would probably go out on a limb and say that Emma wasn't even the one that killed Neil Marshall, and it might have been fucking him. Look at him. That's the face of a murderer right there.
I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know we aren't defenders of justice?
What?
We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied.
What's going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sentenced the man to his death. How can he just stand there like it wasn't his fault?
Order! 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 Order!
I mean, I still don't see how this is Edgeworth's fault. He was literally only in charge for like a few hours. The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial is headed, no one knows. Well, that's part one of this little finale done. February 25th, blah 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 blah. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours.
Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later.
No, Gumshoe, come back. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it?
You've got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen half of your people at funerals.
I take it Lana's having you run errands again.
Let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Here, she asked me to give this to you if there was a break in today's trial.
Evidence law. Edgeworth was talking about this just the other day. You must know the two rules of evidence law. Rule 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Is that right, Mr. Wright? It seems so. You could at least study some evidence law, really.
The chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message.
A message?
She said, if you're planning to take him on, you're going to need this book.
Him. I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read.
Doesn't look like that book will do you any good now, though.
Actually, it might. Rules for submitting evidence. Rule 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Rule number 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Oh, okay.
All that's left now is the chief prosecutor's sentence.
That's where you're wrong, Detective.
Huh?
Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat, despite all these allegations being thrown at me.
Mr. Edgeworth.
The real trial today hasn't begun yet.
What? What else is there left to do? Your credibility has been all but ruined with this forged evidence you were unaware of. Emma Skye found out she unwittingly caused a man's death. And now, you're telling me you want to do more? You've got to be kidding me, pal.
You're missing the point, Detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there.
What?
And we're going to expose him, no matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end.
Court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Mr. Edgeworth,
Yes, Your Honor.
the inquiry committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions.
Thank you for the news, Your Honor.
Yes, well, normally this is where the prosecution calls forth a witness. But, this isn't easy to say. You see, there is some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have,
Struck a bargain. You think I may have manipulated the witnesses?
I didn't say that. It's just, you see, everyone has been talking and...
Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution.
A solution?
That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses.
What? But there's no precedent for what you're proposing.
Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say?
Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Very well. Defense accepts the prosecution's proposal. Oh, God.
Then it's settled. The, defense may now call forth the next witness.
Mr. Wright, you do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as over. The defense calls. Time's finally come to bring out the real murderer. Damon Gant. The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand.
Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything?
As a defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor?
True. All right, bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand.
Witness, please state your name and occupation.
What is this? Some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch.
Your name and occupation, sir.
Worthy, are you sure you want to do this?
Your name and occupation. Yeah?
So, you want to play hardball, huh? Please, Mr. Gant. Fine. My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police.
Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony.
Oh, righto. What's with the grim face?
First, let's clear up this SL9 incident.
Oh, you mean the time? That time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already.
There are still some things unaccounted for.
Oh, like what?
Like the role you played in all of this.
Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. You are aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal.
Weapons.
Sure, take my testimony for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to.
What? Is that true?
I'm afraid so. The chief of police has the right to refuse to testify.
But fucking why? Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks.
Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you. Very well, the witness may now begin his testimony. As I recall, Nil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either.
You totally did not miss me receiving a book about evidence law. You did not miss me Edgeworth giving Phoenix the ability to call forth witnesses, and you did not miss me calling Damon Gant to the witness stand. And you also did not miss Damon Gant threatening that he doesn't have to testify if he doesn't fucking want to, because he's the police chief and he has that right. And now here we are. But of course, you didn't miss any of that, Katana.
When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Him? He was lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Dark bumped his head. I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut.
If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I'd better hit him hard and fast. Yeah, just in case you fuck up. So the two of you ran immediately after him, right?
That's right, but Dark made it to the elevator first. So Neil and I split up. He went upstairs and I went downstairs. I guess you could say. He got lucky.
What's this about a power outage?
Oh, that. The elevator stopped all of a sudden and I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as Neil was when that knife went into his heart, though.
That's not funny. Could you tell us what you saw?
It was a shocking sight. Neil and that serial killer were lying in a heap on the floor, all tangled together. Dark was also lying collapsed on the floor.
Oh, Dark was also lying collapsed on the floor?
Yes, apparently he hit his head and was knocked out. Next to them were those two poor girls.
Lana and Emma.
Lana was cradling Emma in her arms. Looking back at it now, she must have already known what her sister had done.
How can you know that?
Because of the victim's body. It had already been moved.
So that means you found the body near Lana's desk?
That's right. I think you said earlier it was my suit of armor that really stabbed the prosecutor.
Yes.
Anyway,
as you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Actually, dipshit, I found this in your safe. If you really had nothing to do with the forgery, then how do you explain this?
What's that? And what's that on it? A handprint?
Chief Gant, your explanation, please.
I don't know. You tell me, son.
Huh?
My dear Righto, don't you know? The second rule of evidence law.
Uh-oh, not this again. Evidence law.
Rule 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. Tell me, how is that rag relevant to this trial? It appears the defense was not prepared.
I guess it's too early to use this piece of evidence.
Please accept my profound apologies, Chief. Would you mind giving the defense another chance? Well, okay. I'll do it just this once, but only because you asked, Udgy. Thank you. I assure you the defense is terribly sorry.
Yeah, sorry I didn't nail you. So you're saying that the forgery had already taken place by the time you arrived at your office?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I can understand how Lana must have felt. But moving a body and hiding evidence is inexcusable no matter what the circumstances.
Is that how it really went down? Staring at the witness won't do you any good, Mr. Wright. If you're going to stare at anything, you'd better off staring at the court record.
Worthy, always the smooth talker.
Which piece of evidence ties Gant to the forgery? Lana did admit to forging evidence, but that can't be the whole truth. Somehow I've got the link. Okay, so if it wasn't... So if it wasn't that... Was it this then? You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery. But I'm afraid that is a claim you cannot back up.
Explain yourself.
Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this list, for example.
That's the list Emma Skye drew her picture on.
This was discovered in your desk. Not only that, but a piece of this jar that was sitting in your office was found inside your safe.
It was found where?
You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation.
Chief Gant, what's the meaning of this? Oh, here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy.
So you admit to it then, that you were involved in the forgery.
Who, me? Or do you mean you?
Me? Why would I have anything to do with that?
Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Righto?
However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation.
Were they, my boy? Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured Dick will receive his due punishment.
What? What? If Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work.
Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office, and their relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene. My. Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together.
How easy would it be if in reality all you could say is, well, you just put that there, and people just believe you? I mean, of course, there was that one case, that one fucking thing Netflix did, Making a Murderer, where that's really what they did, and people believed them. But that's not how that works, Gant.
Let's see, what was it now? A jar fragment and a list? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Mr. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor.
When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol. You do understand that I am the Chief of Police, right? There will be consequences. Indeed, I believe I will press charges, so you won't make the same mistake again. My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know. All right, Udry. In return, though. I know. That place, right?
Huh? What are these guys telepathic? I'd appreciate it if you'd stop making these ridiculous allegations.
Yes, you do have a point. You wouldn't have the guts to do something like that.
What? I'll have you know, back in the day, I once broke into a cattle ranch and tipped...
Mr. Wright, what are you saying?
Phoenix, stop walking into his traps.
Anyway, you can't prove you didn't carry the evidence, can you? If you have proof to the contrary, you're going to need it later.
Later? What are you talking about?
What else? I'm talking about when Righto's prints are found. Yes, if they're found inside my safe, they would prove this investigation was illegal.
I've never faced anyone as slimy as this guy. What do you mean by that?
This is all purely hypothetical, of course. But suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery.
If concealing evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery...
I'm not through speaking yet, Righto. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered.
Are you saying this jar fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation?
It would appear not. After all, it wasn't listed in the evidence list. For all we know, it could have suddenly materialized the day after Dark was sentenced.
Oh, and wouldn't that be convenient? Right. The Chief is talking about a possibility, so long as you can't rule that out. Your remarks, however clever they may be, will only succeed in wasting time. Tell me something I don't know.
Come now, Righto. Think about it.
Actually, what is my court record right now? I guess I'll just keep pressing until I can't. How can you look me in the eye and say that?
Because I'm innocent. Remember, who was it that murdered Neil? I'm not sure I care for the word murder here. But in the end, the person responsible for Mr. Marshall's unfortunate demise was Emma Skye. Well, now do you see?
Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there is one very large benefit you've reaped from all this.
Oh, I wasn't aware. What is this benefit?
That would, of course, be the position you have, Chief of Police.
Oh.
The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive.
Ho 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 ho. Oh, that's a good one.
Huh?
Do you really think I'm that incompetent?
What do you mean?
Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of SL9 merely sped up the inevitable a little.
Is that true, Edgeworth? Yes, he was going to be made chief anyway.
Be careful when pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointed at.
So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else.
Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There, it's out in the open now. Aji, would you mind if I change my testimony a little? By all means, please do.
Oh! But there was nothing in it for you.
Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you'd better think again.
You're right. You don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised. You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though. Ho ho ho. Oh, that's a good one, Worthy. Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? True. You might not help out for anyone. You might not help out anyone for their sake. But if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone.
Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand.
That's not what I mean.
Very well then. Who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence? Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye, the defendant?
I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit.
Self-profit? What do you mean?
After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Skye was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant.
But how would he profit from all this?
He would be able to use the chief prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations.
Do you mean to tell me that despite the chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? Oh, wait. You must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind.
Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive, to appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her. Righto, my boy. You have quite the imagination. Let me ask you something. What? Do you have any proof of this, that I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? Lana? She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant.
I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture.
Unless, that is also what happened in this incident.
This incident? Which one would that be?
Of course, I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. You know, he is a massive dick, and that is proof enough for me, I'm gonna be honest. Ah, I see. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you'd better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt.
Just what do you mean?
What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement.
What? Order! I said, order! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious.
Huh?
This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder. That's impossible.
Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier to understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. It looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this.
Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder?
maybe. He has literally threatened literally everyone involved in this trial, and... Come on, Judge, man. I know he probably has something on you, too, but come on. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell.
I see. Alright then. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got, and it better be good. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman.
Fuck. Wait. Wait.
This is the ID card list.
Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 7777777. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number. It's your number.
What? How do you know that?
The safe in Chief Gant's office required a code to open. A 7-digit code.
7 digits? You don't mean...
I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 777777. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime.
Order! Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say?
Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations. And I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card.
Chief Gant, so you admit it. You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime?
What about it? I'm chief of police, whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom. What's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he? Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days. You hadn't seen him in days, Chief Gant. I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you have to have met Detective Goodman.
What do you mean? This trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt.
No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting?
In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime.
Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filed out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the chief of police. Yet you were in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure if he filed it. He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to? Yes, to transfer the evidence out.
Oh.
Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him. There's no other way to the murder. The murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Gant, I just realized. The murderer left behind a bloodied handprint that had no fingerprints, meaning they're wearing a glove. Gant, you're wearing gloves. You're not very good at this, Gant. I'm gonna say. Everything points to you currently. Hold on. Let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the chief of police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly.
But wait. The chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card.
Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of the sort. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. Jesus Christ.
Chief Gant, you didn't.
The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. Gant really fucking sucks, I swear. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there?
I was at the police department the entire day, you know.
And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal.
Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey, you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so.
Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time, I thought it was a useless clue just taking up space.
How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence.
To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this. This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body.
A parking stub? Miles Edgeworth?
You mean? The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. You mean I carried the victim's body? Precisely so. But wait, even you know, I didn't plan on returning to my office after the ceremony finished that day. But you did return. Tell me, why? I was asked to go, by Chief Gant no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. So you see, what you were really taking to the prosecutor's office wasn't the screwdriver, but the victim's body in your trunk.
Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car.
Yes, unless, of course, you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. Edgy does indeed need a nap. To transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye.
Order! 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 What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations?
Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo with the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It is a photo of the body being taken out, taken from the trunk.
Chief Gant, please say something.
I believe your time's up.
My time's up.
Sorry, Righto, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're to make it in time for the early bird special. But the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now.
What? That is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
So you're going to just run away after all this? Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman. That's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now. Well, You think I had Lana dispose of the body. If so, then show your proof and get it over with.
I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Dammit, Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof.
Let me just do this real quick, because I have a feeling it's time for big boy move.
Well, Mr. Wright.
Your Honor. Excuse me, had to sneeze.
Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Sky dispose of his body.
Fuck. Fucking do I? I do not think I do. I mean, there's the word muffler said on Lana's cell phone, but that doesn't really prove anything. There's the victim's memo found in the trunk of the car. Do I have to say no this time? I know the floor plans would show this. Maybe. I'll try it. I can't let him just squirm his way out of this. I've got to keep the pressure on. Yes, Your Honor. I do have such evidence.
Then please hurry up and present it.
Just in case.
Just remember, it better prove Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman beyond a shadow of doubt.
Well, if it's the cloth, it's the cloth.
So, what exactly is this evidence?
It's proof as to whether or not it's enough to demonstrate the Chief's guilt. I'll let you be the judge.
But I am the judge.
All right. Well, what do you think, Your Honor?
What I think, Mr. Wright, is I'm going to be late for lunch.
I guess it wasn't enough. Please, Your Honor, give me just a little longer to consider.
I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Dammit, Gant is the
Blah, 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 blah. Hmm. Okay, I don't actually think I do. I mean, I could try presenting something again, but I don't actually think I have evidence. I think I gotta just concede this one time. And if I'm wrong, I saved. It's no use showing evidence I'm not even sure of myself. No, Your Honor. At present, I have no conclusive evidence.
See, Aji? In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief.
What?
Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, Righto. It seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, Aji, I'll leave the rest to you. I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to a senior officer in our nation's law enforcement agency.
What? Lady Luck, Maybe we should have a word with her.
Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean?
There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. A lady who knows the truth. Another witness. In the absence of conclusive evidence, and the only other method of proof is testimony. But Chief Gant has invoked his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else, one more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room.
Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person?
Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today.
Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist?
She may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls forth.
The defendant, Miss Lana Sky?
She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 on February 21st. Her task, to dispose of the victim's body. In accordance with a certain someone's orders.
Mr. Edgeworth.
The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor.
Very well, the court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in...
Hold on.
Huh? Chief Gant, I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Lana.
He's talking to Lana.
I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder.
Actually, that case is closed. So, you know. Technically, no. This isn't good.
Of course, you'd never support such outrageous claims anyway. Right?
Yeah, another threat.
Just something to think about. Alright then. I've got a lunch date to meet. Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess.
Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth. That chief. He's something else, eh, pals? Detective Gumshoe. I'm not a detective anymore. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Ah, don't worry. I've already decided where to work now. At your office. My office? Sure. I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with. Could he mean... Maya? Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. How's it he always gets the upper hand? It's not fair he has the right to refuse to testify. Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said?
But, Chief, that is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
Risks? What do you mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. You mean he forfeits his right to say anything, too? Hi, Emma. Emma, are you okay? Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery. So she heard everything that's been going on. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Relieved? Yeah. Now I finally know what really happened. To think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. Yeah, no one really said Gant was smart. And she did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her. What do you mean? What do you think I mean? To follow Chief Gant's orders. She must have shut herself up deep inside. To force herself to do anything and everything the chief told her to do. That must be why she became so cold. It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall. Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you want to blame anyone, blame society, pal. Yeah, one can only abuse power for so long before eventually it comes biting them right in the ass. It does not matter who you are. Eventually, the truth comes to light. Chief Gant might be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor. I see. Well, we'd better get back. It's time for the final act. Emma, why don't you wait? No, I'm going with you. I want to be there. When Lana tells the truth. Let's go, Wright? It's time to end this. Okay. Time for the final part of this fucking trial. It's about damned time. February 25th, 2021. Let's go.
Now then, will the defendant, Miss Lana Skye, please take the stand?
Alright. Actually, you know what? This is a good time for a small break. I need to go use the restroom and grab me more tea. So, I will be right back. This is going to be like a 5-minute break. Yeah, iffy.
Okay, I am back and we can continue. Miss Lana Sky, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required of you. But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I've done these past 2 years.
Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Sky. And remember, you are under oath. We want to hear the truth.
Of course. The truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister.
Now then, your testimony, if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant.
Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we have to get Gant. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motivation was to get Dark convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma.
Are you sure about this testimony?
Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital offense. Of course I'm sure. But Lana...
If this is true, then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this.
That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you've got to help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. What if she's telling the truth? She's not. I know my own sister. Whenever she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something inside. Deep down, she's really screaming in agony. Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself.
The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
How many years exactly? Ever since I made senior detective. Let's see, I was 24 then. So that would be 5 years.
Detective Gant and Detective Sky were legendary partners. I personally saw them testify in numerous cases.
She must have been good, coming from the same school as Mia. Damon Gant was a respectable detective. That's why... But think about it, Miss Sky. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much yesterday in jail. You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And... Did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. That's not the point. She was traumatized that day all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. Lana. So that's why you fabricated
the evidence 2 years ago.
You say you did this all by yourself? Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken Prosecutor Award knife was stuck in the victim's body. What? But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change this statement. You mean Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by by Doc? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Doc was carrying a switchblade knife. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. Ah, shit! Katana's got chocolate cake. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover up her lies with more lies. All just to protect me.
So when you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to.
Yes. You planted the tip of Dark's knife in the...
And then you moved the body?
But why? Why would you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You've always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad, but maybe I ought to ask for the sake of others. But why did you do that? Come now, Mr. Wright. Even you should be able to figure it out.
Very well, let's add this to the witness's testimony. The reason Miss Sky fabricated the knife.
I knew the tip of the weapon found buried in the body would be all the proof we needed. According to your testimony, Prosecutor Marshall's broken knife was the murder weapon, right? Yes, and leaving it at that might point the blame away from Dark. I felt the most effective way to get him convicted would be by having the tip of his knife found inside the victim's body.
So you buried it inside the victim's stab wound?
Yes. Because I hated Dark for what he did. So you rearranged the crime scene. Are you sure you didn't do this to keep Emma from looking like the murderer? How many times do I have to tell you, Mr. Wright? Emma didn't do it. Period. Are you so desperate to hide that fact? You're willing to risk the death sentence? She's lying. She did it so I wouldn't be blamed for what happened. In any case, as a prosecutor, what I've done is unpardonable. There's nothing I can do to make up for my actions. Mr. Wright, my sister's lying. Looks like she's determined to protect you to the end. She insists she fabricated the evidence by herself. There's no way she could have done it alone. I've got to get Lana to talk more. If she's lying, then she's bound to slip up and make a contradiction. Okay. When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where you deduced it was, by Chief Gansel's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple.
Let's have the witness explain this in more detail. The reason Miss Sky moved the body.
The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan. Pieces of the jar, you mean? Yes, that wretched jar you showed us earlier. In order to show that Dark committed the crime, I felt it would be more expedient to move the body. So, when you first found the body, the jar was already... Of course, it had been shattered to pieces. If you looked at the crime scene, it would be clear right away what happened. Neil Marshall was dead and Dark was lying unconscious. In other words, the jar must have been broken during their struggle.
I see.
What's the matter, Emma? Apparently, the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed. But I have a feeling there is more to it than that. Must be a contradiction here somewhere. Anyway, I committed this fabrication completely alone. But wait, wasn't it intact, though? Miss Sky, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister.
You mean the forgery at the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered?
If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life will have been in vain. Even so, I am compelled to bring to everyone's attention a significant contradiction with your testimony. A contradiction in my testimony? You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right.
Do you have a problem with that?
It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Exactly so. And this is where the contradiction lies. In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, it must not yet have been broken before he died. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar.
Order! Order!
Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody message. It may be missing something critical here. We may be missing something critical here. Something critical? Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're as in the dark as we are about the truth towards which we're headed. What? Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth.
Very well, the witness may now continue her testimony.
I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar, but it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. Out of rapid curiosity, Right? This poor bitch.
You mean you were the one who wiped away the message in blood?
I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence.
Very well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination.
So the jar was already broken. It's a miracle that thing hadn't broken earlier.
It certainly looks as feeble as the defense's case.
But not as feeble as the judge's judgment. You were an ace detective who never missed a detail. Do you really expect us to believe you didn't investigate what was written on the jar pieces? Normally I would have. So you didn't know your sister's name was written on the jar? No. If I had known, I would have gathered all the pieces and ground them to dust. Well, that helps my case. Lana, you do that for me? Seems you two might make up yet. Anyway, I just barely had enough time to move the body as it was. If someone happened upon the scene, you'd lose your chance to erase the evidence. You must have been in a hurry. I was. I knew I had to destroy the evidence before anyone came.
This is rather shocking.
I'm afraid this action of yours reveals what really happened.
What do you mean?
If you really thought Dark killed Prosecutor Marshall, you wouldn't have wiped away the blood. What else could I have done in that situation? Lana, I only had a few moments. There wasn't enough time for me to do anything else but gather up the pieces. But how could you see with the power out? It should have been pitch black in that office. A detective is always prepared, Mr. Wright. Even now, I always carry a pocket light and a camera with me. Even I carry a bottle of emergency luminol wherever I go. Why in the fuck? I never miss anything. I got every last piece. So you illegally rearranged the crime scene? Yes. I don't have any excuse for my actions. I'm so sorry, Lana. I didn't know. I've treated you so badly all this time. It's not too late. There's still plenty of time to make up. After we've gotten to the bottom of this incident.
No doubt this day will leave a permanent stain on the history of the prosecutor's office.
Where contradictions have surfaced in her testimony. Your sister's really putting up a fight. She must really care about you. Still, she's not doing this the right way. I think I finally figured out the contradictions in her testimony. There's one final possibility that might turn everything around. Well, just in case I fuck this up. Though I'm pretty sure... to be pretty sure... Yep. Miss Sky, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. What? We found the final piece of this jar in Chief Gant's safe. In the Chief's safe? But how? I knew it. She really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was... still blood on it.
But the witness just testified that she gathered every last piece and wiped the blood off of them.
Yes, which leaves us with only one explanation. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you.
But couldn't the defendant have simply missed a piece?
I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective.
That may well be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my dentures. They were in my mouth all along. Huh, can you believe that?
Have you forgotten, Joanna? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jaw was already broken.
Oh, that.
There's no way a name could have been written on a shattered jaw. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness.
I hope you're not implying that this person was Chief Gant. At the time, he was looking for Dark downstairs. Besides, even if he was there first, why would he break the jar?
The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide that fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer that?
Wait, I'm not the one on trial here.
Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. He proceeded to break the jar and purposely hid one of the broken pieces. Question: what is this action called? Fabrication of evidence.
But why would Chief Gant do that?
In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear?
What happened afterwards?
Discovering the scene, Alana Sky believed her sister Emma killed the victim. You know, it does feel like the judge would find himself in a situation like that. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma, and therein lies the reason. The reason why Miss Sky became the Chief's puppet. No, I did it on my own. Please, sis, stop trying to protect the Chief. I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. Don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. First of all, rude. Foul lies? Yeah, I think she just bit her thumb so hard she fucking started bleeding. Imagine that, coming from my own client.
I guess you do seem the type who likes to twist the truth.
The fuck are you talking about, Judge? I've had, what, 4 fucking trials and I fucking came to the truth at the end of each fucking one? I don't want to fucking hear it, man. Wait a minute. What if we're still smack dab in the middle of Gant's trap?
Is something wrong, Mr. Wright?
Lana, maybe Wright after all. What do you mean, Wright? So you do tell foul lies then, Mr. Wright? No, not about that. Miss Sky, please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie. But I do remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. Miss Sky, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. Right. The judge is so unfair to Phoenix. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will, if you tell the truth. Very well. I'll testify about what I really saw.
All right. The witness may testify once more for the final time.
Okay, actual crime scene. I guess everyone just hates defense attorneys. I think that might just be the joke from the fact that everyone in real life considers fucking lawyers to be the spawn of Satan. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on that suit of armor's sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what had happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it all really was a fabrication, Emma might be innocent.
Unbelievable. The body was impaled on the armor's sword.
You were the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. What? To me? It's a picture I took of the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. But I don't remember receiving a picture like that. Yeah, honestly, I think people just hate the entire judicial system in this world. Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright? She really does have faith in you.
Very well, Mr. Wright. Please present this picture.
I don't remember receiving any picture from Lana. You know, people might... I really don't know. I think it might just be Wright. I'm not sure what it is. Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her then. Let's check that evidence again. There must be a picture in there somewhere. Aha! Hey, there's a picture here. Wait a minute, why is this vest already cut? Oh my. This is the actual crime scene. No other detective saw the crime scene like this. Because I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I had rearranged everything. Mr. Wright! That piece cut from his vest, could that be the cloth we found inside Chief Gant's safe? What's this? This is a handprint, isn't it? That cloth, it had fingerprints on it. Whoever's fingerprints those are must be the real murderer. What? But those fingerprints... They're yours, Emma. Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright? Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flush out the real murderer.
Very well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination.
When I arrived, I found impaled... Oh, come on!
Come now, Ajay. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen. Chief Gant! What? Now you want to make me out to be out as the bad guy too?
Nah, Gant. You said you are refusing to testify. You don't get the fucking talk. Get the fuck off my stage.
If so, I'd like to put in a word or two in my defense.
I'm afraid it's too late for that.
What?
You already declined to testify. Yeah, you fucking tell him, Edgeworth. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort. This must be that risk we were talking about earlier. He might have just fucking pushed Lana, and I'm gonna be honest with you. This guy pisses me off, I swear. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your own neck.
So what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements.
What do you mean?
The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence. Yes, that's true. Wait, you mean you still have some conclusive evidence? No, I don't, but someone does. Someone? So, what's your excuse, Righto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death?
No, it doesn't mean we have to show it, but I mean, realistically speaking, in this scenario, if Lana was the first one on the scene, right? Fucking come with me here. If Lana was the first one on the scene, and she immediately took that picture of the crime scene, and the vest was already cut, then that means that that piece of cloth that has Emma's fingerprint on it, maybe even if she was the one who pushed it, does not necessarily mean she was the one that impaled Officer Marshall. In all likelihood, now this is just a theory leading into this, in all likelihood, when she pushed him, he did not hit the fucking statue's spear. Instead, he hit the fucking thing, got knocked out by the goddamn jar, and for whatever reason, this son of a bitch stabbed the man, put him on his fucking thing, cut out the piece of vest just in case he needed it. I'm calling it now. Or at least something along that lines.
Is this true, Mr. Wright?
If I show that piece of evidence now...
Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence, present it. If you try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiry.
You now. I better think this through carefully. I can't afford to make the wrong decision. Just gonna... just in case. Oh, the stream skipping? Oh, I see it on my fucking thing. Well, for the sake of... Ooh. Let me know when it's fine. Okay. Should I present that piece of evidence? The one that shows who really killed Prosecutor Marshall? Don't do it? I mean... So don't do it. So don't do that, is what you're saying. Do not show the evidence. I know it's a trap. I can see it's a trap. But I think that's what we have to do. Okay, fine. Fine, I'll click this. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. What? You lie.
Chief Gant, you opened my safe. I know you took what was inside.
The conclusive evidence. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? We found it together.
Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it.
What are you talking about, Chief Gant?
Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area? It looks like part of it's been cut out for some reason.
You mean you had this in your safe?
What? That means you, the chief of police.
Huh, apparently your big brain move to say, nah, I ain't gonna present that shit, actually was the right answer.
I've been concealing evidence. This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department. Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Miraito. Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened. What? You mean you admit to it? I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana.
So you really were manipulating her?
I knew Lana. If I made it look like the blame lay with her sister, that when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid.
So you assisted Miss Guy?
I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room.
And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Doc convicted. You are correct.
When I tampered with the crime scene, I had two pieces of evidence. This was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you.
Two pieces of evidence? You mean those items in your safe?
But why? For instance, of course. Oh, for insurance, of course.
Insurance?
I was sure my plan would work, but it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed. You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging the evidence? What do you take me for, a fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hid the most legible part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood off all the pieces.
But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message on this jar, too?
Ho ho ho. Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance.
You mean that piece of cloth?
Come on, Righto. Cough it up already. I know you have it.
What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright? So you admit to it then, Chief Gant, that you were hiding the cloth you cut off for the victim's vest in your safe.
Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have to do that, being chief and all.
And that's a lot better than... You know, you were correct. It does not have any blood on it. But it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer.
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present.
Foolish move, Righto. You should have shown it then before it was too late. It's been a long battle. But the moment of truth has finally arrived. Oh shit, that might actually mean I'm right. If there's no blood on the vest that he cut off, then there's no way that he was impaled at the time. And that the vest... Yeah, huh. Big brain. As long as I don't mess up here, victory's mine. Now the question is, do I show it now or save it? Okay. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now.
Alright then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall.
Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest.
Oh yes, at last you finally brought it out into the open. There's a handprint on this piece of cloth.
Your Honor, the prosecution requests to be immediately sent that be immediately sent to the lab for an analysis. This handprint on the leather, there must have been a strong impact for it to be left so clearly.
You mean...
It could not have been forged. It must be authentic, conclusive evidence.
Ho ho ho. You're as slow on the uptake as ever, Worthy.
What?
Think about it. Righto had all this time to present this evidence. Yet he was reluctant to do so. Why would that be?
You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that? Mr. Wright, do you really know?
Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they?
Very well. I'll tell you. It should be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted. The person to whom these fingerprints belong to is...
Emma Sky?
What? They're mine? I'm sorry, Emma. But why? Why didn't you tell me?
Oh, ho, ho, ho. You're really something, Righto. You knew this girl did it all along, and you still tried to pin the murder on me. So it's true, tragic but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death.
How could you? You monster!
Miss Sky.
You knew whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't. Miss Sky, it's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet.
Ha, but I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career too. You purposely concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer?
Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up.
Oh, and what's that?
Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall?
What?
Chief Gant, you were absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, do you ask?
It was Emma Sky, wasn't it?
I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction.
What? A contradiction? And what is this fool babbling about?
I'm talking about a contradiction. One that proves who the real killer is.
Mr. Wright, this piece of cloth. What could it possibly contradict?
Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth.
And what exactly is this supposed to be?
This is the picture Miss Sky took. Take a good look at it. See where the piece of his vest was cut out?
Yes, his shirt is showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood on his vest, though.
Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood. That's only natural. His lungs, no doubt, were punctured. Blood poured out of his mouth.
Oh, but that piece of cloth!
Not a damn drop.
Wait, there's no blood on it.
Since Emma Sky's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword at that time.
No, this is nonsense.
Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Miss Lana Sky, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, and impaled him on the armor's sword? Then, to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood, a jar that they then broke on purpose to leave behind a clue, and make Lana believe her sister did it. Remember what you admitted only moments ago? That you personally cut out the bloodless piece of the victim's vest? Ironic, isn't it? Through the very act of creating insurance, you prove that you were the actual murderer. It's finally all over.
Oh, that was close, Righto. You almost had me.
Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations.
What do you mean you refute his allegations? You see, that piece of cloth is illegal evidence. Order! What nonsense is this? Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a suspect. Remember, Aji. Earlier, old Righto here concealed that piece of the cloth. So then, what's your excuse, Righto? You don't have some conclusive evidence, don't you? You do have some conclusive evidence, don't you?
Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. You see, Katana gets it.
Well, that's true. The defense did refuse to present evidence. At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence.
But that's not fair.
Did you actually think you could best me in court? It looks like the last laugh's on you, son.
Not really.
I'm afraid Mr. Gant's claim is legally correct. Well, Mr. Edgeworth?
True. Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a person. Assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal.
Well, Mr. Wright?
It seems, at last, the time for me to reveal my plan has finally arrived.
Mr. Wright, do you admit to it? That you purposely and illegally concealed this piece of cloth?
No. I admit I refused to present it at one point.
Aha! So the evidence is illegal.
No, it isn't, Mr. Gant.
Huh?
It's not that I didn't present evidence then. It's that I couldn't.
What do you mean you couldn't?
There are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence.
No, Wedgie, don't listen to his lies. He's nothing but a coward. You can't really believe.
There is only one issue left to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not?
Very well, let us settle this once and for all. Earlier, you refused to present evidence. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, then do so now.
Ahem. I present to you evidence law. This is my proof, Your Honor. Evidence law.
What's this?
I've done my homework too, Chief. Indeed, Emma Sky's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this was merely a piece of cloth, nothing more.
What?
You see, it's written right here in this book. The second rule of evidence law. Rule number 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. I found this piece of evidence myself, inside your safe. It goes without saying, I did not have approval from the police department. Rule number 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. And here's the crux of the matter. You see, at the time, it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between the cloth and the SL9 incident.
What? What kind of nonsense is this? You want relevancy? Just take one look at this picture and...
Sorry, but can you recall, when was that picture presented?
That was shown only a few moments ago.
No. He's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. Right? When both the prosecutor and the defense attorney start fucking coming at your ass. Honestly, at that point, you might as well just fucking admit you did it. You yourself confess to a certain truth. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest.
Oh, yes.
No. It was then that you approved this cloth as conclusive evidence. Yes, you, the chief of police, personally approved this cloth. The only person who could have cut this from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer. And there's only one person who that could be. Damon Gant, the killer was you. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I knew I should have gotten rid of him. That good-for-nothing scum. For 2 years, he's been snooping around the department trying to get something on me. Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insisted on hounding me.
Well, your crime wasn't exactly petty.
He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Starr, then convinced Bruce Goodman.
Detective Goodman?
Yeah, that's right.
Admittedly, I momentarily forgot we were fucking on trial for that guy's death.
If the evidence is transferred, I'll lose my only chance to find out the truth. Please, you've got to help me. Goodman turned him down, as he ought to. Still, Jake Marshall didn't know when to quit.
He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence.
Goodman came to me that day. He wanted to file a lost item report.
I went with him to the evidence room. And then all of a sudden, he decided to speak out. What are you talking about, Goodman? Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? We can't transfer the evidence out. There's too many questions left unanswered. He opened his evidence locker, and as he was talking the evidence out, taking the evidence out, he said, "It's too late. I'm going to hand all this over to Marshall." Well, to be honest, I was a bit taken aback by his words. I had a bad feeling when he came to see me, but I never thought he'd bring up SL9. That's when I saw it. That accursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out. Doing so would have only led to more blood, making it near impossible to hide your crime. Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I hurried to wipe it up. I was worrying so much about the floor I didn't realize my fatal mistake. The bloody handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker. I used to be known as the crime computer. But everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. I was too nervous. I had no business doing any of it. Then you put the body in my car. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of any other way to move the body. I broke your trunk. But what's the big deal? You make a lot more than us detectives ever will. Yeah. Leaving the prosecution's car aside, how? How could you get Miss Skye involved in all of this? Well, she had as much to lose as I did if the truth came out. So you took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker? I felt bad for having to do it. You know, it's like a two-pronged thing. He both did an impromptu murder, and also the fact that, well, oh yeah, he probably could have planned this a whole lot better, and it probably never would have come back to him. Maybe. I don't know, this is Phoenix Wright. It doesn't matter how smart the killer is, he figures it out. I also didn't have the time to pick and choose what to take. So, you left the jar fragments and the glove. Yeah. It looks like I was better off being an investigator of crimes than a committer. They all did their best to get in my way. I've got to hand it to them. They do their jobs well, much to my dismay. Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon close examination. You must have known that. Tell me, Worthy. Why do you stand in court? Me? You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to go it alone. But he's got Gumshoe. He ain't alone. Well, looks like it's time to say goodbye. Oh, Udgy. What? Looks like we'll have to cancel that lunch date. Sorry, old friend. I'm sorry too, Damon Gant. I knew you as you used to be long ago. You were once a fine investigator and an example to others on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you are no longer that person. Those days are gone now, Udgy. Thanks for all the memories, though. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Now you have Righto here. And Worthy. Edgeworth got several people. With these two around, you can't go wrong. In fact, I can hear them already. The melodious, the fuck, I was reading that, you asshole. There are two things I want you to understand. Yes? First, your sister never hurt anyone. Second, Damon Gamp betrayed you from the beginning. You see, Miss Sky, you no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial is over, I'll tell you everything. All that I've done these past 2 years. From the time I had Gent help me forge evidence up until today.
So, it seems all the questions raised in this trial have been answered.
I'm sorry, Miss Sky. I couldn't get you out of all your trouble. My, what high standards you have for a rookie. I can see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows? A few years from now, you just might make it to the top. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Sky. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. Believe me, I know how much an ordeal it's been for you. Yeah, it's actually kind of a sweet smile, too. It was nothing. Liar. I was worried the pressure might break you. And yet, you rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. You've done well, Mr. Edgeworth. Stop it, I only did my job.
In light of this case, it seems a good self-examining is in order for all of us. Miss Sky.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are innocent of murder. However, although the chief blackmailed you, the fact is you still acted as his accomplice. A trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date.
Yes, I understand, Your Honor.
Is there something amusing about all of this?
Honestly, both Phoenix and Edgeworth just need a fucking spa day after this fucking trial. It's been a long time, Your Honor. A long time since I felt free of these heavy chains.
Well, this trial has gone on far too long already.
Ain't that the fucking truth?
Regarding the charge of murder, this court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Sky, not guilty. That is all. This court is adjourned.
Ah, Jesus Christ. At long last, it's finally over. Yeah, not guilty. Kinda. At least of murder. Emma? Why the long face? I'm sorry your sister didn't get completely off the hook, but at least she wasn't convicted for a murder she didn't commit. No, that's not it. Just now, after the trial ended. I can see why Mia Fey thought so highly of you. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. You've done well. You know, I did my best too, but Lana didn't say a single word to me.
Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later.
Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it?
You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Hey, line up, pals. I'm only kidding.
Oh, are you here because my sister again?
Nope, nope, not this time. I came today because of you, pal.
Me?
That's right. I thought you'd like to see someone.
Lana! Should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know.
Well, I won't tell if you won't.
Emma, I owe you. I owe you an apology. Gumshoe is honestly the best, though. It's okay, sis. Don't worry about it. That day 2 years ago, was the first time in my life I ever panicked. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I could think about was keeping you from getting wrapped up in that mess. Sis, I asked Gant to help me cover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake. But now, I realize I was wrong. I changed after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through the past 2 years. I knew how much I was hurting you by distancing myself, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you'd look at me with those eyes of yours. I was scared of how you'd react if you knew. But sis, you were only doing it for me. No. Huh? I turned my back on you that day. And hiding what I believed to be the truth, I was deceiving you. Sis, I'm such a fool. It took me all this time to realize it. Emma, I'm so sorry. But sis, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You're happy? Of course. You know, sis, I always knew that one day you'd come back. And now you have. Oh, Emma. Emma. No one can change the past. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for our mistakes. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in doing so, we can find the way back to our rightful path. It is way too wholesome, Jesus Christ. And it is from there that we can move on toward a brighter future. At least that's what I felt watching the two sisters make up. Mr. Wright, Mr. Gumshoe.
Me?
Thank you both for all that you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right, Edgeworth? Edgeworth? Stop hiding and come over here. He always looks so angry. Where was he hiding? I just came to say, congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Right, well, I'll be going now. Mr. Edgeworth. He is angry, edgy boy. Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you. It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realize today that I can't correct my mistakes. Mr. Edgeworth? Not only that, but I don't even trust myself anymore. Chief Gant was right.
You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to go it alone.
But again, Edgeworth's not alone. He's got, like, several people. I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my entire life to fighting them. But in order to fight crime on my own, I need a weapon. Right, come on, Edgy. Come on. It's scary, but I've known that to be true for quite some time now. But Edgeworth, who knows? Given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gant did. That thought terrifies me. That's why I can't continue on as a prosecutor. Edgeworth, don't you understand? Damon Gant and your mentor, Manfred von Karma, were both the best of the best when it came to fighting crime. But they both made the same mistake. You said, in order to fight crime on my own, I'd need a weapon. That may be true, but think back to today's trial. You weren't alone. You were working together with Mr. Wright. And because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone undiscovered. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright? Huh? What? Oh, yeah. What is this, a pop quiz? Come on, Mr. Wright. Show him what Lana's talking about. Hold on a minute. This is gonna be one of those cases where I have to present something, right? Evidence, huh? Something that neither Edgeworth nor I would have been able to find out on our own. Would it be the evidence list? Yeah, because Phoenix had one half and Edgeworth had the other half. It's got to be this, right? Just waiting for second opinions before I do this. I mean, okay. That's the picture I drew. Our counterattack began with this. You had one half of the evidence list, and I had the other. Apart, we wouldn't have been able to completely restore Emma's picture. That didn't just happen by chance, Mr. Edgeworth. It's time for me to go. Mr. Edgeworth, if you'll excuse me, there are still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor. Bye, Edgeworth. Edgeworth, what will you do now? Well, whatever you do, just remember. You can let what happened kill the prosecutor in you, or you can let it help you grow. In the end, it's up to you. I know. It seems I owe you my thanks too, right? But what I face now is my problem. Edgeworth, I'll be waiting for you in court. Farewell. Yeah, he's. I don't think he's a fan of the power of friendship. He doesn't like that trope. I'd better be going too. Okay, but I'll be by to visit soon. It seems we both have a lot to learn and catching up to do. Here, this is a little something for you. Scientific investigation. It's the first book I ever bought. Study it well. Thanks, sis. I will. And so, another case came to a close. As for the sisters, I have faith. Faith that their lives have only just begun. And as for me, I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. A journey to rediscover myself.
Well, don't go trekking off just yet, pal. There's just a little matter to be resolved about the chief prosecutor. You see, she isn't supposed to be out of jail like this.
But I thought you said it was okay.
Yeah, well, it may be okay with me, but the folks at the prison are a different story.
Huh?
Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. Believe me, it wasn't cheap either.
Huh? Way to go, detective. I didn't know you had a wild side.
Yeah, well, you see, Mr. Wright here is the one who'll be footing the bill.
God damn it, Gumshoe. Huh? Huh?
What, you think I could afford it with my salary? You gotta be kidding me, pal.
Huh? 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 Thank you, Mr. Wright. You're the best. Why is it? I suddenly feel like I want to scream.
Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we all co-pay it off together?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Come on, guys. Let's go. Well, it has been the longest trial. I arranged for a friend of mine in Europe to take care of Emma. I hope she'll be pleased to study under a top coroner. As for me, this affair has pretty much ended my days at the prosecutor's office. Still, I'll manage to find my way back to the field somehow. Then I'll be able to investigate crimes together with Emma. Planning Takeshi Yamazaki. Design Kazuya Nori.
Yikes. I thought I was a goner for a moment there. In the end, though, they overlooked my unauthorized investigation of the chief's office. If we penalized you anymore, it'd be worse than firing you. Yep, that's what they said. It just goes to show, you can't shake me off that easily.
Poor Gumshoe. Art Yasuaki Kishimoto and Tatsuya Inamoto. Art Kojiro Ogiwara and Hirochika Nagaki. Animation Kota Fukamachi Takanori Ishikawa. Ahem. My new mission is to guard the main entrance and take care of Billy. Can you believe it? I've been demoted to a security guard. My partner is keeping an eye on the entrance for me today. I'll show them, though. Someday I'm going to make detective. Yes, sir. Then I can just be like Dick Gumshoe. Graphics Suichi Morimoto Kyoyoku. I cannot read that fast. Graphics Koji Aokichi Nakajima Toshiko. I did not. Fuck it. Yeah? You got something to say? Anything at all? Yeah? Uh-huh. Insightful. Ah, no! Blue Badger, no! I know I pronounced half of that wrong, but but I'm reading quickly. Fumiaki Sato. Oh, Fumiaki Sato. Itoshi I can't... It's either Sakai or Sakai... Whatever.
What is it? Can't you see I'm having me a showdown with a steak and lunch partner? Miss Star managed to sneak this into me. She's seen one of the guards, it seems. Well, cowboy, it looks like you did it. You even gave Bambina back... Whatever. Can you make sure Billy and the gang get their water?
Blue Badger needs a fucking break. Akemi Kimura. Looks like we won't be seeing each other for a while. As a farewell gift, I put a new meal on the menu. The Right Way lunch. The top layer tastes as bitter as defeat, but the bottom layer's as sweet as victory. Kids seem to dig the turnabout theme. It's a hot seller around exam time. Just make sure not to eat it backwards. Ben Judd. Brandon Gay. Kaori Funakoshi.
I'll never forget what that youngster defense lawyer said after the trial. Let's see, what was his name again? Mr. Left? Anyway, he said he's been doing something or other for how many years? Well, anyway, I've got another trial to get to, so I'd better go. Oh no, I forgot my gavel. Sorry, gotta go.
Yeah, that is actually kind of sweet of her, considering what happened. Bound Global Solutions. J. Patrick Riley, Yuli Kim, Steve Anderson. Yoko Muto, Alexander O. Smith, Philip Saldini. Hi, Maya. Nothing soothes the soul like fresh country air. Still, sometimes I do miss hearing you and your objection. Still, I can't go back until I'm a full-fledged spirit medium. Mystic Maya, afternoon's train's about to begin. Coming. Well, see you around, Nick. And I'll see you eventually. Special thanks to Kimio Yamazoe. I can't read those. Keiji Kubori, Tomohiro Masuda, Setsuo Yamamoto. Okay. Hideaki Katagiri, Miho Kobayashi, Kentaro Ohira, Ryohei Koyama, Yeah? Mr. Edgeworth? I brought you your tea. What's going on? A letter? I'm not gonna attempt that one. Tatsuya Minami is the executive producer. Hi, Emma. Thanks for coming to see me off. I can't believe I'm going to Europe. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Oh, fuck. I completely missed that. Whenever I want to see Lana, all I have to do is open this. Open this book. Okay. God damn, that's wholesome. Stop. I can only take so much. Oh, Lord. Saving content. Alright, now that was officially the end of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. There were no more cases after that, and the next time I come to you on a stream, which should be Monday, question mark. We're gonna put an asterisk there as a could not, but it's a possibility. Next time, it all depends. I might give myself a few extra days to rest my throat because that was fucking long. But next time we'll be starting Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney 2. Fuck. I think it's Justice for All. No, not Justice for All. Fucking whatever the fuck it's called. Whatever the fuck it's called. We'll figure it out. It's fine. So, like, comment, do whatever the fuck you do at the end of a stream. Next time, whenever it is I see you, I do this again, we'll be starting Phoenix Wright 2. Now I just gotta end the stream. Okay. Bye, everybody.